When you go to the Sanctum Anatomica, right next to Loid is a little computer which you can actually access and read these logs, which are quite informative and a good summary of the history of the Tenno and so on. You can't send email from them, you can't create your own documents, and you can't insert USB drives. You can't play puzzles, and you can't surf the internet anymore. But you can, no, you can't search either. You can switch it off though. If you tried switching it on and off again, yeah, so none of these options work, but the operator and all of this history text can be read. So here's me reading it. The laboratories are sealed. Our task, which... try again. Our task, watch for the chosen operator. Known data. The operator is a Tenno. A Tenno was a specialist warrior in service to the Orokin, the masters of the Origin system. The Tenno piloted Warframes, suits of sophisticated battle armor. They fought alongside the Dax, augmented human warriors who were more numerous and less effective than the Tenno. Tenno existed to battle the sentients, evolving machines hostile to the Orokin and their way of life. Complications. The Orokin Empire fell, only artifacts remain. The war with the sentients, the old war, is long over. No Tenno have been seen for generations. The Lotus. A suitable Tenno candidate has been found. The reawakened Tenno is being guided by the Lotus, the same entity who led the Tenno at the end of the Old War. The Lotus is known to be a former sentient previously named Natah. She was captured and converted to her current state during the Old War by Executor Ballas, a high-ranking Orokin. Executor Ballas is theorized to have modeled the appearance and persona of the Lotus upon his deceased lover Margulis, an Archimedean scientist executed for her devotion to the Tenno. The Lotus appears to be just as devoted to the Tenno as Margulis was. She has not, however, divulged the secret of her sentient origin to them. Continuing to monitor. The conflict. Tenno candidate has engaged with several hostile forces. The Grineer are degraded descendants of the cloned worker force that once served the Orokin. They are brutal combatants concerned only with amassing power and territory. Left unchecked, they slaughter, enslave, and plunder civilizations. The Corpus are a merchant cult devoted to profit. They make extensive use of robotics. They exploit civilians economically and violently protect their investments. The infestation is a biomechanical plague, apparently controlled by one or more hive minds. It corrupts organic and mechanical targets, converting them into mutated servants. Continuing to monitor. The Void. The Tenno has discovered abandoned Orokin towers within the Void. These towers were introduced to act as sanctuaries from sentient attack during the Old War, since the Void is intensely damaging to sentients. Supplementary information. Much of Orokin society was dependent upon the Void. It was used as a shortcut through space and as a source of energy. Its full potential was first theorized by Albrecht Entrati within these very laboratories. It is Albrecht Entrati whom this device serves. It is Albrecht Entrati who has entrusted us to locate the chosen operator. Significant development. The Tenno has encountered the Entrati family on Deimos. The family remains unaware of the existence of these laboratories. The Necroloid is an exception. Its memory is, however, suppressed until the activation of the Kalimos sequence. Hun Hao. Significant development. The Tenno subject has learned of the Lotus's sentient nature, including her original name, Natah. A Dax, Teshin, presented himself as a rival mentor, claiming that the Lotus cannot be trusted. The Tenno has encountered Natah's father, the sentient war leader Hun Hao, whose remains lie beneath the oceans of Uranus. Han Hao had expected Nata to destroy the Tenno in the accordance with her original mandate. The Lotus continues to reject her sentient nature and seems concerned to retain the Tenno's trust, continuing to monitor. The Stalker. Since awakening, the Tenno has been pursued by the Stalker. Appearance and combat capabilities suggest the Stalker is a surviving Low Guardian, a former protector of the Orokin. Evidence implies that the Orokin Empire fell at the hands of the Tenno themselves. The Stalker's motive may therefore be revenge. Significant development. Han Hao and the Stalker are working together. The Stalker has been sent to find the reservoir, a place believed to conceal the Tenno's gravest secret, and which could be used to destroy them all at a stroke. The Tenno has set off in pursuit, aided by the Corpus technocrat Aladvi. Significant development. The reservoir has been located. It is on the moon Lua, previously believed destroyed, but in fact concealed within the void. The Zariman. Significant development. The Tenno has discovered the truth of their identity. They are a human child, one of many kept within cryopods on Lua in the reservoir. These children were passengers on the Zariman 10-0, the colony ship bound for Tau and lost to the void. When recovered, they were found to have developed parahuman abilities. Despite Margulis's protests, they were placed into a state of lucid dreaming and used as Warframe pilots, continuing to monitor. The Queens. The Tenno has encountered the Grineer Queens, the semi-mythical leaders of the Grineer. The Elder Queen, aged and diseased, had planned to transfer her mind into the Tenno's young body. This process, continuity, was common among the Orokin elites and was used to extend their lifespans indefinitely. Teshin Dax helped the Tenno to resist the Elder Queen, who has now been eliminated. Only the younger Worm Queen remains. The Tenno has recovered much of their lost training. Suitability to fulfill the role of chosen operator has exponentially increased, continuing to monitor. The Sentinel. The Tenno has been made aware of Rel, a fellow Tenno a fellow Tenno who was outcast by his peers. Rel had voluntarily assumed the duty of keeping the origin system safe from a void-based entity referred to as the Man in the Wall. With Rel's death, that responsibility has now transferred to the Tenno. Critical development. The Man in the Wall is identical with the entity known to us as the Indifference. Albrecht Entrati is ultimately responsible for attracting its attention to the origin system. Albrecht Entrati may be ultimately responsible for its existence. Parameter confirmed. The Tenno is the chosen operator. We await the correct moment to activate the Kalimos sequence. Ballas. Executor Ballas is now known to have colluded with Han Hao during the Old War in an attempt to betray the Tenno to the Sentients. Executor Ballas is now known to have survived the collapse of the Orokin Empire. Significant sentient forces are now known to have amassed, undetected, at the periphery of the origin system during the span of time since the Old War. Executor Ballas has now manipulated the Lotus for his own ends, compelling her to resume her sentient identity, Nata, in order to use her as proxy commander of the sentient forces. Significant development. Ballas has led the sentients in a renewed attack on the origin system. Era, the brother of Nata, is acting as joint commander. The factions of the origin system have formed an alliance against this common foe. Significant development. The Tenno's personal timeline has been disrupted. Knowing he cannot kill the Tenno, Ballas has opted to imprison them within their own history. The Tenno will be unable to escape this loop without the paradoxical intervention of an outside force. The Drifter. The Zariman vessel, adrift for an unknown time within the void, now acts as a containment field for unrealized possibilities. One such possibility is an alternate version of the Tenno. This individual escaped into the void on their own initiative, rather than being rescued and taken into the origin system as the Tenno were. Within the void, they established a realm, Duviri, in which to live. This individual, the Drifter, has now entered the origin system. Significant development. Ballas has established himself as ruler of the origin system. Through his Narmer cult, all citizens have been forced to wear headpieces that distort perceived reality. Ballas is thus able to dictate exactly what the wearer experiences. Era continues to act as Ballas's enforcer, using composite creatures called Archons as muscle. Significant development. With the assistance of Hunhao and the Stalker, the Drifter has fought back against Ballas, destroying the Archons. The Tenno has been freed from their recursive timeline and now coexists with the Drifter. Significant development. Ballas is dead. The Lotus, now free from Ballas's conditioning, has chosen a preferred primary name and form. The Kalimos sequence. Critical development. In a deranged attempt to transport himself and his cult to Tau, Ballas opened portals between the void and conventional reality on an unprecedented scale. This has attracted the attention of the Indifferents, whose freedom of action appears to have drastically increased. The threat posed by the Indifferents is now at a critical level. The laboratories have come under fresh assault from the Murmur. Unless the sleeper is awoken, Albrecht Entrati's legacy will perish. Conclusion. Contacting the Necroloid. Activating the Kalimos sequence. And there you have it, all stored on a computer from 1999. Join us for another chapter, and stay well, Tenno.